And welcome to another edition of A World Gone Mad, Season 1, Episode 15. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. I am in a much better mood than last week. So happy to have you aboard, whether you're new or you are an existing listener for the past 3 months. Each week we are growing the listening audience, and I'm very pleased about that. I want to thank everyone's efforts on some of the Facebook groups, especially my Facebook group, A World Gone Mad Podcast on Facebook. Thank you. Don't forget to let people know about this podcast. Don't forget to let people know about the email, etc. And for those of you that are new, a little explanation what I do. Commentary on news, national and world news and politics. I give my insights. We don't go in depth on every single news story. That would be impossible in a 30-minute or less podcast. But I do my best to give highlights and to voice some things I'm thinking about or feeling that you may be having the same thoughts about yourself. So let's get off and running. Some of the news this past week. The RNC Chief Counsel resigns after 2 months. I wonder why. 2 words, Laura Trump. The Republican National Committee's Chief Counsel, Charlie Spies, has resigned. He's only been there 2 months since he accepted the position. Spies' departure follows weeks of growing tension with RNC officials. A source familiar with the situation told CNN his hiring rankled many Donald Trump loyalists. They get rankled by air, who viewed the veteran Republican lawyer at odds with the former president, given his previous work for Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, Ron DeSantis. Basically, he said he's stepping down due to potential time commitment conflicts. Laura Trump. Who the hell would want to deal with her? And who the hell would want to deal with Donald Trump? So there's more to the story than is being told. And speaking of good old Donnie Boy, Truth Social keeps shrinking despite the Trump trial and looming election. Former President Donald Trump hit the jackpot this spring when his Truth Social media company finally went public. Even though the Trump Media and Technology Group generates very little revenue, investors are assigning an eye-popping valuation worth north of $9 billion. Trump's dominant stake in Trump Media is now valued at nearly $6 billion. Yet new data shows its main product, the conservative-friendly social network Truth Social, Truth BS is my short term for it, remains a very tiny player in its industry, and it's getting even smaller daily. Good. Vanish into thin air, sir. You, especially, and your Truth Media BS. Not surprisingly, retailers jacked up prices and squeezed out consumers. In the last year, basically, roughly, they may have just had a second thought and blinked. Retailers are feeling jittery. Consumers aren't shopping like they used to. In a game of chicken between stores and shoppers, it's the stores that appear to be yielding first. By dropping prices on thousands of products, the markdowns come as inflation has pushed prices higher for the past 2 years, squeezing Americans, forcing them to choose between wants and needs. That's a problem, not just for individual shoppers or even big retail chains, but for the whole American economy, of which about 2/3 comes from consumer spending. Now, personally, I've noticed the opposite lately. I shop at a store called Sprouts. One just opened up like 7 minutes from us. And everything was hunky-dory for the past 3 months. There's a phrase, hunky-dory, right? I date myself. Hopefully I'll buy myself flowers and dinner and take myself out dancing. But anyways, we've gone in, and their 4-pack of muffins have gone up in price. They don't have all the variety that they did. Other items were jacked up by 10 or 15%. Fry's, the supermarket in our area, or one of them, has jacked up their prices. So I'm sure you've seen it. The economy is doing well to some extent, but in other areas we're getting hit with a lot of price raises. But accordingly to the news recently, as of this week, retailers are panicking, and they're putting major markdowns on things. We haven't seen it yet. Have you? I don't know where, but apparently prices are coming down. All right, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, here's something interesting if you haven't seen it. And again, a lot of this stuff that I talk about and comment on, you may have already read about, but a lot of people don't have time for the news or haven't read all of these stories or haven't had an internal discussion back and forth with themselves or other people externally. So I try to bring that to this podcast. The DOJ plans to reschedule marijuana as a lower risk drug. Yay, it's about time. The Biden administration will move this coming week, to reclassify marijuana as a lower risk substance. A person familiar with the plans told News, a historic move that acknowledges the medical benefits of the long criminalized drug and carries broad implications for cannabis-related research and also the industry at large. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice is expected to recommend that marijuana be rescheduled as a Schedule III controlled substance, a classification shared by prescription drugs such as ketamine and Tylenol with codeine. The DOJ continues to work on the rule. They have no further comment at this time, an administrative official said this past week. Now, Attorney General Merrick Garland plans to submit a draft rule to the White House Office of Management and Budget as soon as this coming Tuesday. According to a source familiar, the standard rulemaking process is lengthy, is subject to a public comment period, and could take months to complete. So, question for you. I personally don't think marijuana should have been a higher scheduled drug like it is now. I don't use marijuana, not to say I haven't. Frankly, it does the opposite for me. It wires me, as weird as that sounds. I get hyper with it, as if I'm on uppers, and so it doesn't really do anything for me in that sense. How do you feel? You could reach this podcast and me. We'll give the phone number and email, and you can join the Facebook group. But what do you feel about marijuana? To me, more people abused regular over-the-counter drugs or prescription drugs and alcohol than they did marijuana. And those of you against marijuana, great, don't use it. But I'm sorry, having marijuana or people using marijuana, in my opinion, shouldn't be outlawed or made into this such ridiculous high-end drug. It isn't. Okay? People had more dangerous situations happening in their family and with others with alcohol and prescription drugs. Okay? That's just my personal opinion, and that's what I do here. All right, everyone, join in. We're going to take a song break right now. Stand up, stretch, and join in with me with the music. Marjorie Taylor Loonball on the loose. Marjorie Taylor Loonball as nutty as a goose. Okay, that's... No, I was not smoking marijuana. But Marjorie Taylor Greene Loonball is in the news again. She's going to trigger the ouster of Mike Johnson. However, House Democrats leadership announced that the Democrats would kill the effort by supporting Mike Johnson as much as we don't like him. But at this moment, upon completion of our national security work, the time has come to turn the page on this chapter of pro-Putin Republican obstruction. We will vote to table Representative Marjorie Taylor Loonball. It's not in the record, it says Greene, but it's Loonball. Her motion to vacate the chair. If she invokes the motion, it will not succeed, the leaders wrote in a statement. Basically, Greene wants to do this and get people on the record, voice vote and actual who committed and who didn't. Actually, I think she should be committed. Marjorie Taylor Loonball, please, I'll pay for a straitjacket for you. I'll help them put it on you. Go away, dear. Please. There are a lot more intelligent women in this world. You are not one of them. We just can't get away from Donald Boy, at least on my end. Did you see, or rather read, the Time interview with Donald? And Donald wouldn't dismiss the potential for political violence from his supporters if he isn't elected again in November, suggesting it would depend on the outcome of the presidential race. I don't think we're going to have that, Donald says. I think we're going to win, and if we don't win, it depends. It always depends on the fairness of an election. What a crock of crap. Basically, you know this, people who are listening. If I don't win, I'm going to take my ball and go home and suggest to people to beat you up and take your ball away from you. If I win, everything's good and I'm happy. The remarks came in a wide-ranging interview with Time magazine that was published this last week. The conversation, which took place over 2 sessions earlier this month, also touched on abortion, Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, also asked about the people in the January 6th insurrection. Trump doubled down on his promise to pardon the hundreds of people sentenced for crimes committed during that time, calling these individuals hostages. Though many have pleaded guilty to violent crimes or have been convicted by juries, during an exchange on the issue, Trump said, when asked, will you consider pardoning every one of them? He replied, I would consider that. Time asked, you would? Yes, absolutely. He was also asked whether he was comfortable if states punish women who undergo abortions where it's banned. Trump didn't object. Women, not my listening audience, hopefully, women out there who are still loving Donald and wearing t-shirts saying in love with Donald, my God, you people are stupid. I'm sorry. I lose all respect for you if you think it's okay to be grabbed by the you-know-what. Nothing wrong with that intimately with your partner, but by Donald saying he could do that because he's a celebrity and you still support him, MAGA supporters are loon balls. They are nuts running around. Okay, you know what I'm saying, right? Stop it. Stop supporting this loose DNA strand that's flapping in the wind. Well, jumping from the irrationality of the MAGA supporters and women in general who love Donald, I don't get it. I don't get it. Until the day I die, I don't get it. Going from irrational to a little bit more sane. Now, you know that professor, Alan Lichtman, who correctly predicted 9 presidential elections, the last 9 presidential elections? He actually predicted 10 out of 10 because he did predict Al Gore would win over George Bush, which if you look at all indicators from the past, Al Gore actually did win the vote and the Florida recount, even though the Supreme Court stopped the recount. So technically, Lichtman predicted the past 10 presidential elections. And if you dig deeper, they went in and did all the voting a long time ago, and they predicted Al Gore did win Florida. I don't care what the Republicans say. I don't care what my friends say. The fact of the matter is, look it up. Al Gore won it, and he should have been president. Well, Alan Lichtman, a distinguished professor of history at American University who has accurately, 100% predicted elections in the last 10, tells CNN Laura Coates why he thinks President Joe Biden has the advantage of the moment in 2024, despite polling that shows him trailing. So at this moment in time, Alan Lichtman has predicted that Joe Biden will get reelected. I'm going to take a short break. I just want to remind you about my Facebook group for the podcast. If you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, and you despise what Donald stands for and his supporters, then join my Facebook group. And if you're a listener of this podcast, primarily that Facebook group is in support of that. It's a World Gone Mad podcast. A World Gone Mad podcast on Facebook. Look it up. Join it. We got a ton of great members, and it's growing every day. So please be a part of that. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, my comment and thoughts about the hush money trial going on against Donald, but not in the way you think I would comment on it. Don't go away. I'm coming right back very shortly.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
You're listening to A World Gone Mad. Thank you. And you could reach me by sending me an email. And the email is AWorldGoneMadPodcast, AWorldGoneMadPodcast @gmail.com. Leave your first name in the email, your age, your location, where you're, listening to us from, what app, etc., and any comments you have. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way I can let you know when the new episode goes online. It's automatic. and it's free. Also, if you can review, rate, rank the show on the app you're listening from, that helps me tremendously. I thank you for listening, whether you just joined us for the first time or have been listening for a while. I appreciate that. And now, back to the show.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
And welcome back. Before I get to my thoughts on Donald Trump's hush money trial, let me give you the phone number, the 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week voice system where you can leave a comment. No one's answering the phone. It's just a voicemail box. 833-399-9653. Please use it. I would love to hear from you. Donald Trump and the hush money trial. You know, it's funny. I would think I would be engaged in the hush money trial, but I'm following it on the cursory edges. Any trial such as this nature, I would be watching it. You know, I would be doing it blow by blow accounting to you. But you could read that on your favorite app or watch the TV or listen to it on the news, either YouTube or recaps or whatever. I just can't get excited because there's a deep down gnawing in my soul that the hush money trial doesn't make a difference. What do I mean by that? Here's what I'm feeling. Will this trial move the needle? If Donald loses, it doesn't make a difference. If he wins, it doesn't make a difference. Jeff, that's crazy. What you talking about, Willis? What do you mean by that? What the hell kind of statement is that from me? Does any trial against Donald Trump make a difference? I think the Jack Smith trial does. But I'm still on edge, and I don't know if you, the listeners to this podcast, are also on edge. I find myself with a deep-seated anger within me, and I'm going to give you a silly example, and you may laugh at me and laugh at the example, but see if you relate to this at all. Let me paint a picture. I'm taking a stack of empty cardboard boxes. This is a true story. I'm taking a stack of empty cardboard boxes out to my trash, and I'm piled up the boxes on top of one another. It's a considerably tall stack. I'm trying to balance these boxes, but some of the boxes, regardless of how hard I try, tumble to the ground, and I yell out loud, "Damn effing Republicans," which is irrational. And I know it. But I'm sharing this with you. This really happened. My significant other doesn't know about this. Which makes no sense. Republicans have nothing to do with me losing a pile of boxes stacked on top of each other falling to the ground. But that's my anger. That's my gut level of venom inside me towards the people who support Donald, and it starts pervasively invading every area of my life, and it shouldn't. But we have a change in this country in the last several years. It's not politics as usual. It's not this too shall pass. I'm personally hoping and praying that intelligent people will see the difference of events that take place, and yet they don't. So when something minor happens to me during the day or at night, and I yell out, "Effing Republicans," it's massive frustration coming out of my body. Irrationally, I agree to that. Because I'm disgusted, I'm disillusioned at the millions of people who just don't get it. So that's why I say the hush money trial, I just can't get into it. Because normally I'd watch every single hour of this, but to me it doesn't make a difference. It's a drop in the bucket for me. For me, I can't get centered or balanced, because for me it still boils down to the Supreme Court ruling, the Jack Smith trial, if a president is above the law. And as I've said before in an earlier episode on my podcast, that ruling should be that no president is above the law. Without that ruling, I feel lost as a citizen of this country and as a person. And I'm lost inside my soul. I used to think it's very easy to know the difference between right and wrong. The obvious stuff. Not that you should be for abortion or against abortion. We can have that argument. But the thing that's important in cases of incest and rape, there should be an exception. And that type of difference I'm talking about, and the other side, those people can't grasp that. Not if you're for abortion or against, but the clause about incest and rape, that's obvious. Everyone should agree to that. And they don't. And that bothers me deeply. To clarify further my feelings, do you understand? I'm not talking about big things someone has the right to be against. It's okay to not support this bill or to support that bill. I got that. Both sides have valid reasons. I'm talking about things everyone should agree on. The things that Donald is doing is wrong. Not his beliefs on what he should be backing as a bill or not, but things like the insurrection on January 6th. They're not hostages. They were trying to change an election. The statement that the election was not valid, it was rigged. No. Those things are what confuse me about why a lot of people don't make rational choices on opinions of obvious things that everyone, the majority, should be for. When the obvious things the majority of people should agree on. The sky is blue. The sky is blue. I love weather like this that's rainy. I don't like weather like this that's rainy. I got that. But the sky is blue. A duck is a duck is a duck. And the other side, the majority of people make stupid decisions or irrational choices, have me baffled. So that's why when some minor thing goes wrong in my life, I yell out, effing Republicans. Because it goes back to that core, deep down belief. Hey, you guys, what's wrong with you? What do you not get? On a different note, switching gears, when I told you about Republicans listen to my podcast because I'm fair, that's what they told me, well, I don't think I have any Republicans listening anymore. I think all of them have dropped off. 2 told me directly they're not listening anymore. And the other handful that I was talking about are no longer there. And I think they dropped off because they just can't stand the truth. And it's sad because intelligent people that I know, some are friends and family, others are strangers, they just can't take a stand against Donald. And it's weird. Not that they're a Republican or they dislike the Democrats or they don't dislike Hillary or Obama or Biden or whatever. They refuse to take a stand against Donald. The earlier comment I just made about the obvious stuff, the sky is blue, a duck is a duck. Donald is wrong, and they can't state that. They rationalize. They took me to task, a couple of them, because I won't attack Biden and his corrupt crime family. And I told them the reason why I don't. What crime family? There's nothing to attack on Biden except his policies, his age, his comments. Fine, I get that. Those former Republicans stated, we have to go after Biden, we have to go after Biden, etc. Well, Republicans have tried and there's nothing there. So those former listeners of mine who are Republicans, who did listen to the podcast at one time, are big Donald Trump supporters. Even though they claim they don't agree with him, they tell me this, but deep down they want this kind of White House. They want a dictatorship. They take me to task if I don't attack the other side. The Democrats I will go after when I come across something to attack. I don't agree with everything the Democrats do. I don't agree with Biden being our main choice, but that's who we have, and I'd rather have Joe Biden and Donald Trump hands down. So again, I ask you listeners, I would love to hear from you. Last week sucked. 0 feedback. Previous weeks were slow, very little feedback. If you want to reach me, I've given you the phone number to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week voicemail system. I've given you an email and the new Facebook group to join, A World Gone Mad Podcast. Join me and others. Okay? Your feedback is imperative, people. You can contact me to chew me out. That's fine. You could contact me to agree with me. It would be nice to get any type of feedback after an episode when you listen. If you've never written to the show or phone, can you please say hello? Be nice to meet you. If you have written before, say hello again and let me know you're still out there. This is A World Gone Mad. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. Each week, I sit in a room and talk to myself. Until next week, stay hopeful.